Not in a moment, but over time, in a process, I was able to completely forgive the man that murdered my mother. So it was the day that I met Rex Bell that changed my life forever. He met me in the principal's office of Southwood Elementary School, my 6th grade year, and he walked right in. Dean, I'm sorry to tell you this. We need to go to the hospital. Something's happened to your mom. I always wonder if that feeling is ever going to go away when I tell that part right there. The reason that my heart especially sank back in 6th grade was, see, my mom had already been married 4 times up to this point, and there was boyfriends in between the husbands. We'd moved over 20 times before 6th grade, and things were always changing. But the one thing that remained the same, the one thing I could put all my love into, all my faith into, all my hope into, was my mama. So Rex brings my sisters and I to the Harborview Medical Center, downtown Seattle, and I walk in, and I see that my mom has bandages around her head, and she's connected to all the machines. What had happened was earlier that morning, when my sisters and I were at school, my 4th stepdad, Bob, and my mom got into this horrible argument. In a fit of rage, Bob walks down the hall, goes into my room, opens my closet, and grabs the Christmas present I'd just gotten a couple months earlier, which was a baseball bat. And so on February 11th, when my classmates were getting out of their 5th period classes, I watched my mom take her last breath of life. Well, I'll tell you, a miracle also happened that day, which is pretty cool, is that I was adopted by that pastor who came and picked me up from school. Now he was my hero. My 5th and final dad. Man, sometimes it takes 5 tries, but you can get it right. Tell you what, he was my hero, and he had these mantras that he had, and he would get really serious with me, and he would say, Dean, how's your forgiveness going? How's it going with forgiving Bob? He'd say, Dean, you'll never live in the fullness of your potential until you make forgiveness a priority. You're gonna tell me, whose mom was brutally murdered, that I'll never live in my potential until I frickin' forgive Bob? You think you know about forgiveness? You don't know what he did to me. You don't know the pain. Bob does not deserve forgiveness. There's no way in hell I'm gonna give it to him. But here's the thing. Forgiveness is for us. You've heard the cliche, holding on to bitterness and unforgiveness and resentment is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. But I didn't know that yet. In fact, I had some very effective coping mechanisms. Oh yeah, all you have to do is just bundle it all up and never talk about it. Then I got into college. All of a sudden I needed something a little stronger to deal with that inner turmoil. And I got into drugs and alcohol. I became a person I thought I would never become. In fact, I got married at the age of 20. I got divorced at the age of 22 because honestly, I was a jerk. And it actually wasn't the divorce, it was actually that my career wouldn't take off that actually brought my dad's words back into play. Like I knew I had this bigger power. I knew I could impact the world, but all I was thinking about was myself. And my dad's tormenting words, you'll never live in the fullness of your potential until you make forgiveness a priority. And so I made a choice. And I voiced my choice. And I said, I choose to forgive. Not in a moment, but over time, in a process, I was able to completely forgive the man that murdered my mother. In fact, that started leading to things that you can't put a price on, that they don't sound sexy, like the level of peace that I had in my soul, like, and the freedom that I had in my heart. And then I was finally able to have authentic relationships, and I met and married my 2nd and final wife, my sweet wife, Molly. She really loves when I say that, by the way. See, here's the thing for you, is that in the absence of bitterness, in the absence of unforgiveness, in the absence of resentment, there's room for something else, my friends. There's room for more freedom. There's room for more love. There's room for more creativity. There's room for more capacity. There's room for more productivity. There's room for more energy. It's interesting when you have this, things that you never imagined were possible can happen. And for me, I was able to not only forgive Bob, but he got out of prison in 97, and in 2006, I called him on the phone and we actually reconciled. He attempted suicide in 2008, and I got the opportunity to fly across the country and help save his life. Not because I had to, but because when you're totally free, you get to make choices that you never knew you could make. So imagine 1 year after he attempts suicide, I'm in front of an audience, there's about 300 people, and I tell my forgiveness story and just pretend you're in the audience. So thank you for listening to my story, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I want to introduce to you a friend of mine, a person who I deeply love. Please help me welcome Bob. Bob stands up and the people sitting next to him are like, what? And he comes up and he joins me. See, his new purpose was to help people who've done bad things. And I'm looking at him and I'm realizing for so many years, I did everything I could to make sure I didn't look at the pain that this person had caused. And in doing so, in ignoring it, it actually got more control of me and actually took me further and further away from being on this very stage. And it's interesting to think the moment that I finally just went and faced it, what happened was I became free to make choices that free people get to make.